That moment when you realize your skincare is actually working. That's Rodan and Fields, the #1 female dermatologist-founded skincare brand in the U.S. Designed by 2 dermatologists who don't just know women's skin, they know how to formulate for it. Rodan and Fields, love what you see. Tap the banner or visit rodanandfields.com/Spotify to get your exclusive welcome offer.
ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track. And ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
Subtle results, still you, but with fewer lines. Botox Cosmetic, out of botulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
Raise your hand if you can relate. You're stuck in a thankless job catering to the every whim and want of your unfeeling, uncaring boss who demands your fealty 24/7 and doesn't care if you try to develop a life outside of your work. Now, throw in a cavalcade of dismemberment and a diet that would seem more in line with a guest stint on Fear Factor. Yummy. Turn the lights down low. It's time to see if Renfield is not that bad. Welcome one and all to It's Not That Bad, the podcast that looks for A grades in B movies, and a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Hello to all of our listeners in Banbury, England, and around the world. How are you guys doing? All right. Are you ready for a little bit of cage rage? Because I'm ready for some cage rage. We're about to talk about a very recent Nicolas Cage film. We're talking about Renfield. And here to join me, my lovely wife, Carrie. Carrie, how are you doing?
I am great. Isn't it cool that, like, Renfield has been serving his master for decades upon centuries, upon many, many, many years. Wouldn't it be cool to have that lifespan together?
I mean, yes, but I have a severe problem with the bug eating.
I have a problem with, like, the biting people.
Yeah, I mean, I get that.
Yeah.
That would be
living off of blood.
I mean, I don't like people to begin with, so biting them, kind of makes them stay away a little bit. I mean, we deal with extreme measures here. If I want my seat on the bus and you're going to take the seat beside me and there's other seats around, you're going to get bit and you're going to want to change seats.
No. We don't bite the people. No.
Oh, so that's why you put the muzzle on me when we go on the bus.
That's why you have that orange flag.
You told me it looks good. No, apparently it's for a real purpose.
No, that's why you have the caution do not pet sign.
Stop biting people. Okay, mental note. If you just told me to stop biting people, well, no, I wouldn't have listened. Okay, so clearly we're talking about Renfield, a vampire film starring the one and only Nicolas Cage. And we're going to have some fun with this one because I tell you, I'm actually stoked for this one. But before we get into discussion of said film, I'm going to take my muzzle off, turn the lights down low, and take this film and trailerize it.
Welcome to modern day New Orleans, a city where the police are corrupt, the mob rules, and apparently skip the dishes doesn't exist. Count Dracula hungers, and what's a hangry vampire to do? Send out his manservant Renfield for takeout. May I get nuns, cheerleaders, and unsuspecting tourists as niche cuisine? But can't you order everything on Amazon now? Can a self-help servant help himself out of a life of servitude? Can Aquafina find herself in a movie situation where she doesn't have to yell obscenities at people? Can Nicolas Cage overcome the unbearable weight of massive prosthetic choppers? Find out in Renfield, rated 14A, for affirmations for the deceased.
Oh, love. Oh my God.
There's a lot to unpack out of all of that, isn't there?
I think you pretty well summed up the movie.
All right, cool.
Succinctly.
Well, thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks. Good night.
All right, so let's get into who is in this film. The movie stars Nicholas Hoult, Nicolas Cage, Awkwafina, Ben Schwartz, Shohreh Aghdashloo, and Camille Chen. The movie is directed by Chris McKay, who also directed The Tomorrow War and the Lego Batman movie. So, not bad little, filmography work for this director. The movie had a budget of $65 million. Domestically, though, it only made $17 million, and worldwide, $26 million. Now, when it was released on the April 14th, 2023 weekend, it debuted at number 4 with only $8 million. The highest grossing debut film was The Pope's Exorcist, which debuted at number 2 with $9 million. No one was coming close to the number 1 film. In its second week, only its second week, the $92.3 million earning Super Mario Brothers movie. So, yeah, I get it. I get it. I mean, that movie made bank beyond bank. It's all about the peaches. No, we're not doing that again. There were some accolades, though, for this film, despite the low box office take. At the 2024 Saturn Awards, it was nominated for Best Horror Film, lost to Talk to Me. Alec Hammond was nominated for Best Film Production Design, but lost to Barbie, and I can kind of see that. Marco Beltrami was nominated for Best Music in a Film, but lost to John Williams for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. And if you're going to lose to anyone for music in a film, it's John freaking Williams. Christian Tinsley was nominated for Best Film Makeup, but lost to The Covenant. But Nick Cage won for Best Supporting Actor in a Film at the Saturn Awards. Also, at the 2024 Fangoria Chainsaw Awards, Nick Cage was nominated for Best Supporting Performance, but lost to Alyssa Sutherland for Evil Dead Rise. And at the 2024 Golden Schmoes Awards, it was nominated for Most Underrated Movie of the Year, but lost to Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. That's a tough fight. Most underrated film of 2023.
You know what, though? You can't really compare to Dungeons and Dragons because, again, like Super Mario, it has such a fan base. Like, there's no competition. D&D fans are going to support their craft. They're going to support their fandom. Super Mario, come on.
I mean, Super Mario was going to make bank no matter what because it was an animated version and not the Bob Hoskins version, thank God.
Even Exorcist, it's amazing because you keep mentioning horror movie.
Yeah.
I didn't see this to be a horror movie. I mean, was it dark? Sure.
I mean, it's a horror comedy.
Bloody? Sure. Was there a lot of ketchup? I think most of the, money spent on this film was ketchup don't come cheap.
This movie brought to you by Heinz.
Right? So, but that aside, it very much was a comedy.
Oh, I mean, a horror comedy for sure. You know, the
Is
vampire
that a genre?
version. It is absolutely a genre. Horror comedy, absolutely. Just kind of like, take a look at The Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse. It's a horror comedy film. Leans more on the comedy side, admittedly, but it's still a zombie film, which means it's a horror film. This is still a vampire Dracula film, even though it's pretty darn funny. But the reason why we are here are because critics suck. Over at Rotten Tomatoes, this film has a tomatometer of 58%, making this a borderline qualify by our standards. But let's get the bigger picture here. It has a popcorn meter of 78%. At IMDb, it sits at 6.4 stars out of 10 for a 64% score. Over at Metacritic, it has a Metascore of only 53. At Letterboxd, it sits at 2.9 stars out of 5 for a 58% score. And at the Movie Database, sits at 65%, giving this an aggravated aggregate of a college pass 62.66%. But that still seems low for this.
I agree with the audience score. I mean, you know what? Was it a perfect movie? No. But it understood the assignment and it delivered exactly what you should expect from it. It's a Nick Cage bloody comedy. Like, in all sense of the word. And it was damn fun. It was fun. Like,
oh, absolutely. Yeah.
anything with Awkwafina in it, you know it's going to be, you're here for a good time.
In golf, precision is everything, on and off the course. PGA of America chose advanced 5G solutions from T-Mobile for Business for smooth operations and seamless transactions. Together, we enhance ticketing and concessions for better fan experiences from gate to green. This is pro-level efficiency. This is PGA of America with T-Mobile for Business. Take your business further at T-Mobile.com/now.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. 3 couples, 4 vacations, a lot to unpack. Watch The 4 Seasons, a new series starring comedy favorites Tina Fey, Steve Carell, Will Forte, Coleman Domingo, and more in a hilarious and heartfelt love letter to long-term relationships. Based on the original Alan Alda film. Watch The 4 Seasons, streaming now only on Netflix.
Shopping is hard.
I can never find anything in my size.
I don't even know my size.
I buy my clothes the same place I buy my groceries.
There's a better way. Make it easy with Stitch Fix. Just share your size, style, budget, and done. Your personal stylist sends pieces picked just for you.
That was easy.
Stitch Fix. Online personal styling for everyone. Free shipping and returns. No subscription required. Get started today at stitchfix.com.
All right, well, let's get into the breakdown of this film. But we're going to start with the titular character, Nicholas Hoult, playing Renfield. Your thoughts on him?
My God, he was fantastic. I so loved, I can't even tell you how much I loved the element of the self-help and the you are enough and the positive affirmations and the fact that this character was seeking, he realized he was coming into himself, and he realized that a huge part of his identity was missing. And so he reached out to a self-help group to help find himself in his servitude to Dracula. And oh my God, like, it just made it so incredibly funny. Like, I mean, I'm sure, you know, it sounds like it's a noble attempt, but it just made it that much more, you know, like, you see these like positive motivational posters, and I love at the very end credits where they were like using motivational sayings, classic ones, for like the credits. And it was just like, this is so self-aware to the intention behind like it was just so funny. I love it.
Yeah, you know what's funny? I mean, like right off the top of the show, we were saying that this is a Nick Cage film. But really, at the end of the day, I think this is actually a Nicholas Hoult film. I mean, yes, the movie is titled Renfield. So Renfield is the central character. You know, we focus all of our attention on Renfield and his searching for connection, searching for a different kind of life, yet, you know, still dealing with that intense need to serve his dark master. Nicholas Hoult has given us a character, like a characterization of Renfield that you really want to connect to. Like, he's just so freaking nice in this film. He's just so, I hate to use this term, but bear with me. He's just so British in this. And I love that. I love the fact that Nicholas Hoult gave this, think about what he does, right? He rounds up people for Dracula to feed upon. He is literally like skip the dishes for Dracula. He is Meals on Wheels.
He is. And that's the thing is like when Awkwafina, a police officer, realizes what he is tasked to do, that he is, I don't know, aiding and abetting murder, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that should make him a very unlikable, dislikable character, but you can't not like him.
Yeah. And that's like, had you made Renfield someone who like craves the power that he gets from, you know, from eating bugs, right? From, you know, basically taking what he can, the life force in these bugs to have like all this. If he was doing it just for the power, then, you know, Renfield is not a likable character. His motivations are not there for the audience to enjoy. He wants a life. He wants to feel better about himself. He wants to feel better about what he's doing. Like, Nicholas, I don't know if there is someone out there who could have played this better, because he plays this with such a, not a naivety. Naivety is not the word for it, but a hopefulness.
An earnestness.
Yes, that is the perfect word. You know, the importance of being an Ernest Renfield at this point. Nicholas Hoult slayed this role in just being like the nicest, admittedly accessory to murder that you could possibly think of.
Well, sure, if you want to look at it that way, but
yeah.
I mean, he was just doing a job. It doesn't
really get paid for it, though.
Doesn't make him a bad guy.
No, it makes Dracula a bad boss. But since I mentioned Dracula, let's talk about Nick freaking Cage.
Oh, he was so perfectly perfect in this. Like, he wasn't like off the rails crazed Nick Cage, but he had that element that he could snap at any moment.
Yeah.
And I think that anticipation of, oh, come on, do the crazy Nick Cage. And for the most part, I think the fact that he was almost
subdued.
Exactly. It made it more frightening. That you're almost kind of watching it like in anticipation of, is he going to snap? Is it going to happen now? And he played it well.
We didn't get Wicker Man Nicolas Cage here. You know, we didn't get Zandali Nicolas Cage, you know, rubbing paint all over himself, going black it out. No. We didn't get that kind of Nick Cage. I want to point out, fun little note on IMDb.com. Nicolas Cage is actually the 5th Academy Award winner to play Dracula. Also, Gary Oldman, of course, in 1992 as Bram Stoker's Dracula. David Niven, who was old Dracula in 1974. Jack Palance, who was Dracula in 1974 as well. And Morgan Freeman, who played Dracula during his time on the Electric Company on PBS.
That doesn't include the Hotel Transylvania.
No.
And the animated Draculas.
No, but I'm talking Academy Award winners here.
Okay, fair.
Adam Sandler is not winning an Academy Award from Hotel Transylvania.
Oh.
No. But no, you're
cruel.
right. I think there was a risk here. There was a risk that Nicolas Cage was going to go, let's be honest, Nicolas Cage, and just go completely over the top. But I think what you got here was a more nuanced kind of performance, right? This is what made Willy's Wonderland so good, because he wasn't like scream yelling the alphabet Nicolas Cage. He wasn't, angry humping the floor or a bed kind of Nick Cage. Yeah, these are all movie scenes. We got a good Nick Cage in this. No, it's not City of Angels Nick Cage. It's still a comedy, right? And there's still some fun to be had here. But I think the level of comedy that he brought matched the tonality that they went for with the direction of the film. It was right in the pocket of what it needed to be. So, no, Nick Cage doesn't always go completely over the top. Sometimes he knows exactly what the assignment is. But the thing is, he's such a big personality. He's such a massively huge personality when he's on the screen that he runs the risk of overshadowing everyone.
And you know what I think? It's because of that the dynamic between Dracula and Renfield works so perfectly. Because Renfield is so kind, and he just wants everybody to be happy, whether they're right or wrong, or Dracula, right? He hopes for the best in everyone and sees the best in everyone and every situation. And it is that, again, not naivety, but it is that politeness.
But I think there's also a parallel there. You run the risk of Nick Caging all over the screen, and you don't want him to overshadow the other performances. Very similar to Renfield trying to work his way out of the shadow of Dracula and try to forge his own life. I don't know if that played a role in how the two of them portrayed their roles, but they did work well together. By the way, this is also the second time that these two have worked together. In The Weatherman, they starred together where Nicholas Hoult played the son of Nicolas Cage. So they're used to each other, but the dynamic between the two worked exceedingly well, especially when you had those tense face-off moments. And there's a lot of psychology in what was going on between Dracula and Renfield as well. Awkwafina, who played Officer Rebecca Quincy. Your thoughts on her? I know you love her, but your thoughts on her in this?
I do. I love every movie I've ever seen her in. Like, she's so fun. I love that she's so outspoken and yet kind of unassuming. Like, you're like, whoa, where'd that come from? Especially as a police officer. Like, her go-to was like, F you. It's like, and this is to her captain, or, at least colleagues.
Okay, but isn't your default anyways?
Okay, true. But
which is a lot safer than your default being to bite people. But go on.
But you know what? I so loved her commitment to truth and justice, to the law, to bringing order where there is so obviously corrupt power shift, really.
Yeah.
I mean, what, that crime family kind of owned
she's
the streets?
She's an absolute lone wolf as far as the police force goes, because she's seemingly the only one who's not on the take from this crime family that's running New Orleans. I think when it comes to performance, we've talked about her in Jackpot. We love Jackpot. Jackpot was so much fun. The performance you get here for Rebecca Quincy, it's almost like the middle ground between her role as Katie in Shang-Chi, because it's a Marvel movie. She's not telling everyone to f*** off in Shang-Chi, although I'm sure she probably wanted to. And then in Jackpot, where she's telling everyone to f off, here in the middle, because Renfield's a bit more subtle. I found her performance, again, that nice middle ground. Because you don't want to take Awkwafina's comedy style away. This is still a comedy film. And you hire her because she's Awkwafina.
Right. But I think that there was more motive there.
Mm-hmm.
There was definitely a sincere reason for her to be on that seeking, truth and justice and for the right to prevail.
No, this isn't just a manic, angry, screamy Tourette's syndrome performance that you get out of Awkwafina, like in a movie like Jackpot, even though I do enjoy that. Here you have a character with a bit more depth. You have a character with a raison d'etre, with a purpose to take down the Lobos because they're the ones who killed her father. But to the same token as well, even though the reason why Renfield and Quincy were working together was because he kind of liked her, right? And he was going to ask her out on a date. But I like the fact that, for lack of a better analogy, puppy dog romance didn't get in the way of the bigger story. The bigger story is Renfield trying to get out of the servitude towards Dracula. That's the power dynamic that needs to be focused on. The Rebecca Quincy versus the Lobo gang, that's the B plot, and it works fantastic as a B plot. I'm glad they didn't turn this into a mushy love story, because I think that would have gotten in the way of the uber bloody vampire comedy that we get.
Oh no, there was definitely a strength there. In spite of their what could have been a budding romance, there was definitely there was motivation to take care of each other, no matter what. And that made for the most incredibly choreographed fight scene that I think Awkwafina is so brilliant. And she is so damn talented when it comes to stunts and
physical comedy.
Fight scenes, physical comedy. I know we've talked about this in Jackpot. So there was a lot of that here.
Yeah, they threw her around a lot during those fight scenes. Yes. So mad kudos to Awkwafina for basically being a fight prop in some of these. But I mean, she was doling it out just as much in this film. I think she was doling out the punishment more in this film than she did in Jackpot. Maybe not so much as in Shang-Chi, but that was more a bow and arrow kind of thing. But yeah, that entire apartment building fight scene was it's like the Raid Redemption, but with vampires and corrupt cops, and just taking it to 11, which is one more than 10. Camille Chen, who played Kate, this is Rebecca's sister. This is the one on the FBI that clearly is not on, seemingly the only other police officer not on the take. Well, your thoughts on Camille Chen?
I am so glad you mentioned her, because it is a much smaller part or less focused on. However, so important that if you stop and think about, she is a very successful, very respected FBI agent.
Mm-hmm.
However, her sister in the police force is almost kind of like
one against all.
Yeah, she's literally picked on and mistreated, and her captain allows it. He enables her colleagues to just be so cruel to her.
This is like that conversation that's out there on the internet right now. Who would win in a fight? 100 humans versus one gorilla. Awkwafina feels like that one gorilla because every other cop is so corrupt, and her only saving grace is her sister on the FBI. But her sister's trying to kind of tell her to tamp it down because she's jeopardizing all the work from her sister trying to find a way to take down their father's killer.
I think, though, my point is that the two sisters' characters could never have been switched.
No.
Awkwafina has that kind of self-confidence that, I mean, she could quite easily stand up for herself and tell people to f off, where I think the sister was a lot
play by the rules,
more quiet.
Don't ripple the waters kind of thing. No one is telling Awkwafina to just lay low and just calm down and, you know, try not to tell people to f off so much. No. But the thing is, and maybe this is me, as I'm watching this, and they focused so little on the connection between them. Like, yes, we know that they're sisters. Yes, we know that Kate is the more serious play by the book FBI agent. But when she gets, by the way, spoilers like a mofo here, when she gets kidnapped, because they spent so little time cementing the relationship between the two, I was sure that they were going to reveal that Kate was also on the take, that she was also working for the Lobos.
Oh, interesting. No, I think, I don't know. I think to not dwell on their relationship, or not to make it, not that you have too much invested in Kate, right? That you just tend to know that Awkwafina, again, she's the lone wolf. She wants to
avenge. She's trying to avenge their father's death.
She wants to avenge her father's death, but it has to be her and her alone.
I think, no, it doesn't need to be her alone kind of thing. I think what we needed was just one more scene. And I don't think that would have expanded the movie too long. Just one more scene of like Kate trying to console Rebecca outside. Because when she does it, she tries to tell her to, like, you know, stay in her lane kind of thing. You know, and I say that stay in your lane in a very, you know, don't rock the boat. We're working on this kind of thing. We needed one more scene away from the police station, away from the eyes of everyone who could be on the take, just to cement how important Kate was to Rebecca. So when Kate is kidnapped, the plight that Rebecca has to go and save her sister from the Lobos is heightened. Put some more tension on that. Put some more emphasis on Rebecca's motivation.
I kind of disagree, because I think that,
well, I disagree with your disagreeing.
I know, but I think
disagree
the fact
again,
that,
and I'll bite you.
I think the fact that she was very by the book almost gives her that coolness, you know. Like,
I'm not saying don't take away the by the bookness. I just wanted one more scene to show that they are on the same team.
But I kind of liked, like, keep it guessing, right? Like, you kind of want to wonder whose side she's really on.
I don't know. I think that aspect of it added maybe a layer that we didn't need. But again, we're nitpicking here on asking for more movie as opposed to less. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. Ben Schwartz, who played Teddy Lobo, your thoughts on him?
Absolutely loved. Oh my God. You had mentioned earlier at the beginning of the show that it pretty much had to be Renfield that was in servitude to Dracula. But there was that moment when it was flipped.
Mm-hmm.
And you had said how, you know, Renfield had to be kind and have hopes of seeing the good in everyone. And if he were an asshole who's committing murder, then you wouldn't feel as much for him.
Mm-hmm.
But when they flipped it to Ben Schwartz character, I was like, oh yeah, now we're getting somewhere. Now it's going to be.
You're just happy because the minute he popped on the screen, you're like, oh, staged.
Yes. I mean, I'm sure he's been in other things.
Oh, he has, but we stand, you know, the hell out of staged here. So
you know what? I love him. He just seems to be like someone I could literally sit and have coffee and just talk his ear off. Like, he just seems like such a nice guy.
I mean, here's the thing about Teddy Lobo, though, as a character. You needed him to be not an asshole. That's the thing. Teddy Lobo's not an asshole. He's an idiot.
He is. Well, okay.
But you don't want him to be such an idiot that you question whether he knows which end of the gun to point.
No.
No. He's the smarter idiot. He knows what he's doing, but he's ruthless in the way he does it. But he's also very much he's the big man behind his guys kind of thing.
Okay, interesting. I have another take on him. I think he really is an asshole, and I think he does it so well that he makes himself an untouchable asshole because he has his cronies do the dirty work,
but that's
so
the
his
thing.
hands stay clean.
Yeah, he's a big guy because his last name is Lobo, not because he actually does bad things.
But that is
because everyone else does the bad things for him.
That is the best part of what makes him such an asshole.
But there's a parallel here as well. You got Renfield, who is the manservant, the long-serving manservant of Dracula, and he's trying to find his own way. Teddy feels like he's kind of the same way under the thumb of his mother, where he's the one who gets sent out to do all the things. He's the manservant of his own family.
Very true. I honestly, because I had watched this before, I watched it with you, and I honestly thought that I was missing something. I thought the mom would have been like the bride of Dracula. Like, no. I watched it again. I'm like, there must be something I'm missing. Maybe they were divorced in some tens of centuries ago. Like, seriously.
No.
She's just as pure evil.
Shore Agdashlu, and I apologize if I messed up your name. I do try, but remember, I am an idiot in a basement with a microphone who cannot pronounce English words good. So bear with me here. Who played Bella Francesca Lobo. Oh my God. The menace in her voice, because she's talking so distinctly and articulately, and you can tell that every word has like the weight of 1,000 tons behind it. Her very presence is authority in the room. Your thoughts on her?
Oh, brilliant. Absolutely. It was that deepened voice. It was that authoritative presence. And you can just imagine that Teddy
Lobo.
You can just imagine, though, that Teddy, as a child, never had a childhood. Like, you could picture, like, her being the mom that shows up when he's on the playground and, like, pinching a child to make them cry. like, honestly, you know, I don't think... I think it was absolutely such a dominating presence that you just almost makes you feel bad for Teddy again. And it was so well played.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The thing is, I love all of a sudden like this weird power struggle between Bella Francesca Lobo and Dracula when they start to work together. Right? And then she's, you know, they're trying to like work a deal. It's fascinating. And the fact that her presence is so strong means that this is the perfect actress to play this role against Nick Cage's Dracula.
You know, though, I've got to draw back to like the powered blinds that basically is like a metal garage door that closes on their windows. Like, her house
seemed almost like Dracula ready.
Yeah. So again, are you certain that maybe we haven't missed something, that there was a history between the two?
I just have this feeling that this is a mob crime family that kind of runs New Orleans.
Like a bulletproof kind of.
Exactly. Like I'm going to start shooting people now in this office, and we're going to close the window so no one can hear.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of the way I'm looking at that. But yeah, you could have played something out, but I'm glad they didn't. I'm glad they kept the focus on the A plot, the power dynamic between Renfield and Dracula, and the B plot, Rebecca trying to save her sister from the crime family that killed her father. Those two are the only plots you need, and anything else is superfluous and takes away from the main plot. So I feel like this movie was strangely improperly streamlined, so it didn't take away from the story that needed to be told.
If I may, I feel like something was missing, though.
Oh?
The cops were dirty.
Mm-hmm.
They were on the take.
Yep.
Renfield's job is essentially murder.
Mm-hmm.
So would it not have been an interesting angle to basically like look the other way on any disappearances or kidnapping cases or, cold cases of women especially who had disappeared?
Well, I think the thing is, and they kind of established this in the opening, which that opening was fantastic, is they move around a lot because Renfield tries to work in the shadows, but eventually along come these like vampire killers or vampire hunters that are trying to take down Dracula, and then everything goes tits up and they find themselves having to move cities. And they have moved from city to country over the 90 years that Renfield has been in servitude to Dracula. So it's one of those things where they try to work in the shadows and they try to stay on the down low. And New Orleans probably would have been the perfect place for that. But of course, the Lobos step into this and it becomes like this big, massive thing. But also at the same time, this is when Renfield's trying to find some sense of normalcy here, which I still love. A couple points I want to get across here. And I'm wondering if this plays into the reason why we're actually able to talk about this film. This is, from 2023, one of 6 movies that Nicolas Cage was in. It's the second lowest rated one when it comes to the tomatometer. The only one that was lower was The Old Way that had a 32% score. And I'm willing to scratch out one of them because it was The Flash. And he was there as kind of like a CGI recreation of the Superman role that never happened.
That doesn't count. He wasn't even present. if he wasn't there.
That's why I put an asterisk on it. But it's still even
count.
5 other films that he was in that appeared in 2023. Do you think at some point, and they're kind of starting to make fun about this with Pedro Pascal, at some point, is there too much Nick Cage in one short span of time?
I don't think so. I think Nick Cage has been around for, I don't want to say forever, but in this case, yes, he's Dracula. So, I'd say a couple 100 years, but no, really, he is such an established actor, but he goes in waves. Like, there's a long stretch where you haven't heard anything of him, and then he comes out
Okay, but no, he's been in these films that no one's ever heard of because they're smaller budget, they're smaller release, and they're not really all that good.
That's a fair point, too. But, yeah, you know what? Good on him. If he can get the work, why not?
A movie like Willy's Wonderland, it was the perfect time for that because it actually beat Five Nights at Freddy's that came out. But then there's other smaller movies like Mom and Dad that do get attention because they're good for what they are. But then there's other ones where it's like, oh my God, what the hell is this film? There's one where he's like a cowboy that was released this year. It's sitting right now with a 5% tomatometer. And it's in the running for being one of the films we talk about for the movies of 2025 grading on a curve special at the end of the year.
Can I just say, though, what I love so much about Nick Cage is he's so self-aware. Like, the entire concept of The Massive Weight of Unbearable Talent was based on this exact conversation that he's so self-aware that, hey, there's a role, I'll take it. Do you want to hear what it's about? No, it's good. It's good. This is an actual conversation, I'm sure, with his agent. But
that's the thing. What was it? There were like 3 John Voight films that we talked about last year. There are certain actors who, we have this role. Yes. Well, okay, but yes. Well, we have to play it. Yes. That's pretty much it, right? Say what you will about The Flash, but we're talking about at minimum 5 movies from 2023. So I would just wonder if this is one of those, and I recognize that movies do take time to film and they do take time in post-production. Do you think this is just too much Nick Cage in one year?
I don't. You know what? He's established. He's built a name for himself. And I don't have a problem with it. And I love that he was in this role. I mean, I'm not sure if there's an almost starring, but I don't know if I could picture any other actor pulling off the intensity of this Dracula characterization
without it becoming over the top. Like, and that's the thing. Like, this could have been over the top, but it wasn't. It was right in the pocket, as we mentioned, and that's good. The other thing I want to bring up too is, I mean, obviously this is a bloody film. Bloody, extremely bloody film. But a lot of that blood just seems so fake and cheese. It felt like it was kind of CGI'd in after the fact.
And that was the beauty of it, was the comedic violence. You know, like people exploding and tearing limbs off and using the limbs to beat on someone else. Like,
no problem with that. I mean, we talked about this during the Scouts Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse. I love the comedic carnage that is in that film. But here, just some of that CGI overlay of like because it wasn't even like blood. It was like blood and entrails that were coming out. It was like, there was a gooey digital substance that they had overlaid and all that.
Yeah, they put some thought into this one.
Yeah, but they overkilled it though, I find. It became, and maybe that was the goal, right? It became comedically overdone. And it's not like it's an asylum film, because some of that is so bad, so good, but so bad. But I found it took me out of some of the scenes a little bit. I understand if you try to make it over the top so it becomes less gory, it just becomes more laughable. But is there a fine line?
I think it was right in the pocket though. Again, fight scenes in general tend to bore me. Like, I know that's supposed to be the most exciting part of the movie, but I just tend to nod off. I'm like, okay, let's get back to the storyline. Let's keep it moving.
Let me paint a picture, dear listeners here. Let me paint a picture of my lovely wife, Carrie. I bring her to the movie theater, the first X-Men film. The big fight scene, Statue of Liberty. I look over. I had to elbow her to wake her up in the middle of X-Men. This is the woman that could fall asleep during a Rush drum solo at the live show.
Yep. True story.
True freaking story.
Both are true stories. Okay. So, but yet these fight scenes are just so funny and so well choreographed.
I was about to say they're choreographed well. I just found the CGI blood, guts, gore overlay to take me out of it a little bit because it was so.
Yet, I kind of liked that it was so bloody because, I mean, it's freaking Dracula film. He thrives off of blood. So, especially let's say the group meeting.
No, that part didn't bug me so much, right? That, I think the level of blood and violence in that scene was perfect to the scene. I'm talking about
people were exploding.
I know, that was fine. I'm talking about the apartment fight scene. This is the one where it was really overdone and it took me out of it.
I loved it. I loved every minute, especially of that scene. I wasn't sure if you were talking about
I was talking more about the apartment fight scene because that's when it was really noticeably overdone, I think.
Or it could have been one of the scenes with the family.
Yeah, I can see that, but no, that was the one scene where I became unignorable.
Yeah, I loved it. I was there for every minute of it.
This is my wife, everybody. And see, these are the things she finds funny and she tells me to stop biting people. Oh, well. Anyways, we have come to the end of our show. So, Carrie, who is your MVP? I have a feeling I know who it is, but who is your MVP of Renfield?
Oh, You're going to make me choose.
I am going to make you choose.
Can we give an honorable mention, though, too?
Oh, yeah. You can absolutely give an honorable mention, but you do have to pick one MVP.
Okay, because you have forgotten to mention the self-help group leader, who I thought, you know what? He was so funny. He was like almost unintentionally funny because, there's a scene, the one scene where one of the girls is standing up and she's giving this like heart-wrenching overview of why she's there, her why, her, what's going on in her life. And I think the catalyst is that she doesn't feel listened to or heard. And yet Renfield busts in and he's got like a small problem. And and the entire focus shifts to Renfield. And she's just kind of like, oh, well, I guess nobody does care or nobody does listen. And it seems that it always keeps happening to her, which makes it sad and funny. But the leader of
Brandon Scott Jones, who played Mark, he was the support group leader.
Thank you. He was so funny. He really was. But you had asked, and I've killed enough time. Of course, I'm going with Awkwafina.
I called it, knew it, could have put that in an envelope and opened it up like the great Swami, and here's your answer.
Well, you should have. You should have just answered for me then, if you know. And the winner is
not La La Land. Okay. No, it's not Awkwafina for me. I liked her. I
can see that.
But it's not Awkwafina for me. It's Nicholas Hoult.
Yeah.
Because this film lives and breathes on him creating a really likable guy. Really likable. I mean, we were talking about a film that features dismemberment, bug eating, gang violence, face removal, beheadings, and an extraordinary amount of movie blood. And yet, he makes Renfield fun and likable.
Wow. Did you write that down or did you just come up with that on the top of your head? Because you nailed it.
Give away all my secrets here.
You nailed it. Totally nailed it.
English good occasionally.
Okay, but Ben Schwartz.
Love Ben Schwartz. Absolutely love Ben Schwartz, but he's not the MVP of this film.
Loved him. Loved him in this too.
Carrie, thank you so much for this. And to you, our dear listeners, well, you guys know the drill. If there is a movie out there that you think is unfairly maligned or is so bad that there is no way in New Orleans that we can find anything good to say about it, hit us up on social media at NotThatBadCast or go to our website at NotThatBadCast.com. And while you're there, make sure you subscribe to the website so when we post a new episode, you get notified immediately. Until next time, she's Carrie, I'm Jay. You guys are awesome. This is It's Not That Bad. Proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Take care.